right, so hey everybody, welcome back to our summer preview coverage of Origins 2016. This is Sam Healy. I'm here with Sean.
No name tag, can't cheat. You must actually
know. That's fine. That's good.
How's it going, buddy? Good to see you.
Pretty good.
Excellent.
So tell us about Days of Ire, Sean.
So Days of Ire is a little game I fell in love with from some guys over in Malta, Cloud Island.
Yeah.
David Chirkop, super nice guy. He was showing this to me, and I was just like, I have to do everything in my power to bring this over to the United States. And luckily enough, I was able to do that, and I'm just honored to be able to work with these guys. You know, this is the second time I've worked with David. We did Posthuman before, and this has been just as good of an experience, and I love working with these guys. So what drew me to Days of Ire is it was a real conflict that happened, and it was a real uprising, and they actually have the consulate actually gave them like background in history and literature and helped them with some of these photos. And
that is amazing.
To me, like the history, I'm a history buff, so for right away I was hooked. I'm like, I know nothing of this conflict, but by playing the game I do know this conflict. And I felt the same way when I played Twilight Struggle. I had the same thing. I knew about the Cold War, but not really, and through that game it kind of got me there.
Kind of learned more about it.
And with Days of Ire I had that same instant feeling. So if you're playing the Soviets, I feel like you're playing like a game of Twilight Struggle, even down to your cards are, you know, red for the Soviet and green for the resistance, right? And what's interesting is you can play them for command points, and command points will allow you to draw new events and put more conflicts out on the board. Or you can play it for the actual written text, which is generally more powerful. Sometimes, though, you have cards for the bad guys. In this case, they're the good guys, right? The revolutionists. And so you could play it for the text effect and shift morale, give them a little bit more morale. Or you could play it for the command points. I really need command points. And you just say, well, I'm just going to take the command points. The thing is, when you play them for the green, you got to give them the written event.
Oh, really? Okay.
Right? So you can always discard a card. So if you get a really bad card for the resistance, you can just pitch it. Which is nice. As the Soviets, you can mitigate a bad draw. And so that's kind of, I really enjoy playing the Soviets. I think it's got a fun mechanic. The premise of the game is that the resistance needed to hang on for 7 days, and basically the balance power swings by how many events are on the board. So at the end of the game, if there are more events out, if the revolutionists can't get it below 4, then they're going to lose. The Soviet wants to get more events up. And then there's other ways to win, but they're rare exceptions. Like you can run somebody's morale into the ground, and then they're just going to give up, right? If you're just crushing somebody, which is nice because the game ends quickly. But what I like about this is it's a great two-player. One player playing the Soviet, one guy playing the revolutionist. It's great with 3, where you split up the 2 revolutionists, and it'll even play 4.
Really?
And what's nice with the revolutionists is they almost play Pandemic in a sense. They're running around trying to take care of all these events, right? Because they got to get the events off the board. And so they can trade cards with each other, and they can be, you should go here, I'll go over here. And as the Soviet player, you've got snipers and militia and tanks, and you're wiping these guys out. And these are like their superheroes, so they can take hits, and they kind of converse amongst each other, like, hey, I'll go over here and I'll take the hit for the team. And but once the guy's out, he's out. And I really like that. I like it both ways. I like it with multiple players as the revolutionist, and I also like it one-on-one.
That's cool.
And for me, that's what I dig. And then this event track is kind of cool for the Soviets. This is how you get more on the board, and they cost you money. So these first 2 slots, you can just grab them, and as long as you can pay the command point value, you can play it. If it has an X, you count up the number of events currently on the board, and that's its price. So if there's not a lot of events, X cards are cheap. If there's a bunch of them out there, then you want to wait. And there's a sliding mechanic at the end, so like you can always start to mitigate those and kind of wash them out if you need to.
And so this is where it gets placed if it goes out on the board?
Yeah, so it'll tell you the location, and then so this one's only 1, but if you buy it from this slot, it actually costs 2 extra command points, or you can wait and it'll eventually slide down and get cheaper. And what I like is it's a 7-turn game, and
only 7 turns.
Yeah, and it swings and it ramps up pretty quickly, so it starts off one way, and then it escalates, and it's just very elegant, and it's quick. It's very, very fast.
So what's your top time as far as that?
60 to 90 minutes. I mean, even out of the box, learning the rules. I mean, if you take that 20, 30 minute of setup and doing that, I mean, we were routinely playing games right at the hour mark, a little over 3-player games anyway. 4 would probably add a little bit length.
Seems like there's a lot of depth and a lot of choices to be made, and a short time span. So
yeah, but also I really like Labyrinth in those games, but again, shorter, so not as deep and rich for a war game.
Right.
So like, usually war games, the learning curve's so high.
Yeah.
But this gets you into a war game pretty quickly with a familiar learning curve.
Cool.
So,
what are dice for?
So every time you get into conflict with any of your troops, when you bring in your snipers or your militia, and then you're going to have a dice off, and depending on the results, morale can shift.
Okay.
And that affects people's card draws. So if morale is higher or lower, you get more cards, more support, things like that.
Very cool.
And then probably a very key component is the SPA. I always forget what it stands for. State Protection Authority.
Yeah.
This is another cool mechanic the Soviets can do. They get all of these cards and they can play them anytime. They can play them all if they want for the action, and allows them to move their militia and kind of help them go put out some of these fires.
Right.
And what's cool about these is they reload through like command points. So if you're careful, if you're diligent, whatever you play in the order you play, you always take the last one played back. So if you waste your 2 attacks right away and then you dump all your cards, it's going to be really hard before you get your attacks back.
Gotcha.
So there's also a mechanic on, they're really powerful, but if you overuse them, it's going to take you a few turns to recharge.
So a little bit of a hand management there.
Right.
Cool. Very good. All right. Well, thank you for showing us Days of Ire. This is, I want to play this because
Awesome.
I love games that are historical like this, but again, the shorter time frame. I like how you can learn and play games at the same time, like what Twilight Struggle was.
Absolutely.
So very cool. Thanks so much, Sean.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. We'll see you guys on the flip side. Take it easy, y'all.